First to Victoria and Thomas, and second to Matthew and Amelia, first to Benjamin and Alyssa. Second to Katya and Neil, first to Nadia and Christian. Cha-Cha, first to Mark and Bella, first to Matthew and Amelia. First to Leanna and Neil, first to Carol and Agnieszka. Remember to get your participation awards if it's your first time up. First to Marius and Justina. Second to Damien and Veronica, and a first to Benjamin and Zlata. In the samba, first to Matus and Justina, a first to Mark and Bella, first to Matthew and Amelia, first to Benjamin and Zlata, I know, and first to Leanna and Neil. In the rumba, first place to Michael and Dominica, a first to Patrick and Magdalena. Sorry about that. First to Mark and Bella. First to Matthew and Amelia. A first to Benjamin and Zlata. A first to Leanna and Neil. A first place in the Paso Doble going to Mark and Bella. First to Leanna and Neil. Second to Martin and Veronica. And a first to Matthew and Amelia. In the jive, first place to Patrick and Julia, first to Mark and Bella, first place to Matthew and Amelia, and first place to Benjamin and Zlata, first place to Leanna and Neil. In the cha-cha, heat 517, first place going to Nicole and Greg, first to Leanna and Neil, first place also to Nadia and Christian, first to Brianna and Igor, first place. In third place to Joshua and Abigail, second to Benjamin and Julia, and a first to Matthew and Amelia. In the samba, the first place to 159, Nicole and Greg. A first place to Leanna and Neil. First to Nadia and Christian. A first to Brianna and Igor. And the top three places in the preteen 2 samba. Top three are third place Joshua and Abigail, second place Benjamin and Julia, and first place Matthew and Amelia. In the rumba, 519, first to Nicole and Greg, first to Leanna and Neil, first to Nadia and Christian, first to Brianna and Igor, and a third to Joshua and Abigail, second to Benjamin and Julia, and a first to Matthew and Amelia. In the Paso Doble, first place to Leanna and Neil, first place to Nadia and Christian, a first to Nicole and Greg, third to Joshua and Abigail, second to Benjamin and Julia, and a first to Matthew and Amelia. In the jive, first place going to Nicole and Greg, first place to Leanna and Neil, first place to Nadia and Christian, and first place to Brianna and Igor. A third place to Joshua and Abigail, a second to Benjamin and Julia, and a first place to 325, Matthew and Amelia. In the cha-cha, we have a first place to Bartek and Julia, a first place to Nadia and Christian, a third to Daniel and Darina, a second to Joshua and Abigail, and a first to Matthew and Amelia. In the samba, first place to Bartek and Julia, a first to Nadia and Christian, a third place to Joshua and Abigail, second place to Daniel and Darina, a first to Matthew and Amelia. In the rumba, first place to Bartek and Julia, first place to 168, Nadia and Christian, a third place to 313, Daniel and Darina, second to Joshua and Abigail, and a first to Matthew and Amelia. In the Paso Doble, a first place to 168, Nadia and Christian, and the top three placements in the preteen bronze 2 is third place Jacob and Olivia, a second Joshua and Abigail, and a first to Matthew and Amelia. And in the jive, we have a first place to Bartek and Julia, a first to Nadia and Christian, and the top three placements are as follows. Third place Daniel and Darina, second Joshua and Abigail, and first place to Matthew and Amelia.